Today we're going to be looking at online threats. So last time we were looking at general threats, whereas these threats are specifically looking at network threats. So a common one that a lot of people have heard of and often just refer to as DDoS is a denial of service attack, or DOS or DDoS. When you use a network, you're sending packets of information, and a DOS attack is when a large amount of packets are sent to a destination. Now the sheer volume of this amount of information being sent is what's going to overload the server or bandwidth. This in itself can just stop a computer network from working. Now the difference between a DOS and a DDoS is the extra D in DDoS stands for distributed. So a distributed denial of service is much harder to track as it comes from multiple places. One that I want to mention today, but we're going to go into in more detail in the next video, is something called an SQL injection. Now SQL is a type of programming which is used to edit, search, and manage a database. If people use malicious SQL, they might be able to gain access to the database and steal the information or change it. This is often done through a website input and the website not being very well tested for any vulnerabilities. Now we've got different ways of protecting that data. Let's have a little look at the prevention methods. So the first one, which is a really common one, is a firewall. A firewall will check all the different signals that are going in and out of a network. This will prevent any malware from entering the network. So if a packet looks suspicious, the firewall will prevent it from entering the network. Another common method is something called encryption. We've talked about encryption when we did protocols, when we were talking about HTTPS, with the S standing for secure. This is where all the data will get scrambled if it's getting sent, so that anybody who does intercept that data, it will be useless to them. Only people with an encryption key are the ones who can see that information. Different apps will use encryption called end-to-end encryption without you even realizing. A really common one might be on something like WhatsApp, so that when you're sending messages to other people, you can see it as plain text. As you send it, the message gets encrypted, and as it's received on the other end, that's when it becomes decrypted so that they can see it in plain text again. But anyone in between who tries to intercept that information, it'll be useless to them. Final method is penetration testing. This is where authorized people are allowed to try and break into the network and find vulnerabilities in it. And if they do find any weak points, they will report it back and they will work on fixing that area to make it more secure. As well as these, we've got physical security methods. These can be as simple as keeping computers in a locked room, or we might use something like biometrics. These are really common on smartphones where you've got things like Face ID, retinal scanners, fingerprint scanners, and so on. You might employ a security guard which will just stop any access unless they are authorized, and you could use a swipe card like I have for work, which is a little badge which will just get me in and out of the buildings. Okay, let's have a look at some questions on this topic then. So explain how penetration testing is used to make a system more secure. Identify 3 physical security methods. What is the purpose of encryption? What is SQL injection? Okay, let's run through the answers then. So explain how penetration testing is used to make a system more secure. You could have put something like, people try and break into a computer system to find weaknesses that can then be fixed. Next one, identify 3 physical security methods. So I went for security guard, locked rooms, swipe card entry. Next question is, what is the purpose of encryption? Data is unreadable by anyone who intercepts it. And finally, what is SQL injection? It's malicious SQL commands that are entered to steal or delete files from a database. And that's it for this one. See you next time.